If you're trying to burn body fat, don't waste your time doing cardio at this hour. Hey guys, what's going on? This is Paul Ravella from ProPhysique.com. In today's video, I got some excellent information for you guys. I'm gonna explain exactly the best time for you to do your cardio if you're trying to lose body fat. Now, when it comes to discussing losing body fat, it's often research that we look to, because we can look at research and we can say, hey, they actually did a study in this population of people and we saw that they lost more fat, they burned more fat, they burned more calories. And so I want to talk about that because I think I've got two interesting studies that are going to really shed some light on this. So I'll link the full studies below, but I want to give you a quote directly from the first study and I want to talk about what it means. It says, "We conclude that aerobic exercise, cardiovascular stuff, walking, performed in a fasted state induces higher fat oxidation than exercise performed in a fed state." That's it. That's it. Right, guys? Fasted cardio is the way to go. Why? Because you're oxidizing more fat during this time. However, I found another study that had something interesting to say. In conclusion, our findings indicate that body composition changes associated with aerobic exercise in conjunction with hypocaloric diet are similar regardless whether the individual is fasted prior to training. Well, wait a second. What is the difference here? Because the first study obviously indicates that you're oxidizing more fat when you train in a fasted state. The second study basically says there's no difference in body composition if you do cardio in a fed versus fasted state. So really, what does it come down to? Well, it really just comes down to terminology. And this is where a lot of people get confused. When they hear a word like fat oxidation, that sounds wonderful. Fat oxidation is the body's process of breaking down fat to use it for fuel. However, that is not the same thing as fat loss, okay? Fat loss is when you are breaking down fat for fuel and it's not being replaced. So even though you may be using more fat in a fasted state for cardio, you're actually burning more calories in a fed state, okay? So what happens at the end of the day? There's no net difference. So why do I do fasted cardio? That's a great question, right? Because based on this, you can do cardio at any time of day that you would want to. Well, just because something is better for fat loss or worse for fat loss or the same for fat loss doesn't mean there are other benefits that we can't discuss. What I have found personally, and I think looking back at my life, when cardio was a struggle for me, was when I tried to fit it in the middle of the day, at the end of the day. And what tends to happen? Compounding life things happen. You get called back to work, you got something other stressful happens. Cardio can actually work its way down the list of importance. I also found that by doing my cardio fasted, I was less hungry throughout the day. Well, there's a benefit that they didn't really talk about in these studies. So there is some anecdote involved in learning how to change your body composition. So for me, I like to get up 5:30 in the morning, do a little walk. Why? It makes me feel more alert. I feel better prepared for the day. I've also already gotten my cardio done, and it gives me this sense of purpose where I say, hey, I got my ass up. I did a cardio session. I feel great. I'm not going to go F off and waste my effort by eating a bunch of crap. So there is this idea that research is going to tell us that, okay, it doesn't matter if you do cardio in a fasted state or a fed state. And ultimately that is true. However, we are human beings. We're very dynamic. So willpower, the rest of our schedule, the day, and also anecdote come into play. I've never been able to maintain such low body fat and muscle without this approach that I've taken, which is getting up every single day and doing something active. For me, right here in my office on my treadmill. Another comment I get is, well, walking is boring. Well, right behind that camera right there is a 70-inch TV. So although it may be boring to walk, I'm not focused on walking. I'm actually watching some sports, watching a movie. Maybe I'll put on a podcast, listen to music, whatever it is. As much as I agree with you that walking can be boring, it can also be a great way to pass some time, to enjoy an event, as it can be not the primary thing you're focused on. And also, I live in Florida. Walking outside can sometimes be stressful with the heat, with the rain, heck, depending on where you live, the safety and security conditions. So by having something that I can control, I literally leave my socks and shoes here and just walk every morning with zero barrier to entry. I don't have to think about it and it's already done. And hey, if I'm trying to really look good for the beach, guess what I can do? Morning and evening cardio sessions. Now, there is some interesting research that discusses things not associated with necessarily fasted or fed state cardio. That research actually shows us that there may be a benefit to body composition if you take a walk after each meal for as short as 10 minutes. What does walking do? Well, it improves the digestive process. So you're actually going to maybe absorb your food a little bit better. Obviously, being active is going to improve body composition, but there's also a benefit to walking where we feel a little bit more mental acuity. We feel a little bit sharper. This is something that I've noticed. If I'm sitting at my desk and working for a few hours and I start to feel a little run down, what do most of us do? Put on a pot of coffee, have something with some caffeine. What I have found is that by walking after my meals, it invigorates me. It makes me feel a little bit more alive, and it gives me that energy throughout the day. I can also, even between meals, just get up and move should I need a little pick-me-up. Ultimately, the best time for you to do your cardio is the time that it fits your schedule, where it has the least impact on your day, where you're not trying to use willpower to get your cardio done. For most of us, getting up, doing some cardio before the day has even started in a fasted state, for me, it reduces my hunger, gives me a sense of accomplishment. I'm not impacting anybody in my household and my family, any of my friends. I'm not worried about checking an email or my boss. I'm my own boss, but you get the idea. It's done, it's over. I feel great about it. And for me, it just happens to be fasted, because if I try to eat something at 5:30 in the morning, I'm really not interested. In fact, I find that I enjoy my meal a little bit more after I've already done my cardio, because I feel like, hey, I'm off to a great start. Let's go have a great meal. So hopefully this helps you guys. Ultimately, it doesn't really matter if we're talking about a 24-hour window and we're talking about fat burning, fat oxidation, fat loss. You're going to get the same benefits whether you do it in a fasted or a fed state. But that doesn't necessarily mean that one isn't better for you or in a given situation. I much prefer doing my cardio first thing in the morning. I sometimes do it as long as 60 minutes. Maybe I've even done longer sessions. Then I can go relax, eat, go to the gym later in the day. Heck, I might even go play some sports, whatever it is. But by getting that session done and out of the way, it frees me up. And hey, it does sound good that I'm oxidizing more fat in the morning, even though it may not directly positively impact body composition, because over the course of 24 hours, it's going to be the same. But hey, in my brain, yeah, I'm burning fat when I'm walking in the morning. All right, guys, hopefully this helps you understand a little bit more about an approach that we should take to fat loss that works best for us. The key here, find ways to move, find time to move, create the time in your schedule, because anybody that says they don't have time, they just haven't reverse engineered their life and their schedule to create some of that time. Get it back. Do you do anything to entertain yourself? You can probably move during that time. All right, enough. Thanks for my TED Talk. Talk to you guys soon.